Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name is Ian. Hope you're having a great day today. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. In this video, I'm going to be going over all of the books that I have yet to read by Stephen King. Now, I have read a ton of Stephen King's books. He is definitely my most read author. I wouldn't necessarily say my favorite author because his books are so hit or miss. Some are the best books I've ever read and some are like close to the worst. So I definitely love a lot of his books, but I'm now at the point where I'm getting down to the bottom of the barrel. I don't have that many left to read, and I'm kind of nervous about the ones I have left over. So in this video, I just want to go over those books with you guys and kind of get your insights and opinions. Which of these can I have a little bit of hope for that I will enjoy? Which ones should I just try to get through as quickly as possible so that I can say I'm a Stephen King completionist? Let me know. But anyway, I have roughly 17 books to talk about today. The reason I say that is because I am going to talk briefly about the book that is rumored to be Stephen King's next book. But other than that one, I have 16 books left to read by Stephen King. So that's the plan for this video. I'm going to talk about those. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you've read any of these. I hope that you haven't enjoyed them because I'm nervous about a lot of these. But I do want to say, if you hear a lot of like moving around, my dog is in here with me and she's kind of going nuts. So sorry. I also do want to say I am not counting the two books that I am currently reading by Stephen King. Those are Night Shift and Dreamcatcher, which my copy is around here somewhere. I am hoping to finish both of those in the month of December, so I'm not counting those in this video because I am currently reading those. But without any further ado, let's talk about the books that I have yet to read by Stephen King. So I'm going to be grabbing a bunch of books from over here. The first one is Cycle of the Werewolf. So this is a very short book and it has quite a few illustrations. I know that I could read this in an evening if I wanted to, and I did actually plan to read this in October, but it got away from me. So I will be reading this soon-ish, if not this year. Maybe I'll throw it into December, who knows? But I'll be reading it at some point very soon. I don't know too much about this other than that it is a werewolf book, which honestly, historically, I'm trying to think if Stephen King has any other werewolf books. I don't know that he does. I mean, he obviously has vampire ones, but is this his only werewolf book? I'm probably forgetting something, or maybe he has a short story or something with one in it, but I am excited to read this. I don't have like particularly high hopes, but I will say I'm eager to see what it's going to be like, and I'm glad that it's a short one because a lot of the ones I have left are chunky and not necessarily well reviewed. Speaking of chunky and not well reviewed, I'm just kidding. The Tommyknockers. That was so dumb. The Tommyknockers by Stephen King, of course. I was gonna read this in November and I just experienced like a terrible reading slump and I couldn't do it. And so I haven't done it and I'm really scared. This is one of the ones that is considered by many to be one of Stephen King's worst books. So I gotta get it out of the way at some point. I think it's like Aliens. I'm pretty sure it's Aliens. I can't remember. But this is one that like Stephen King, I think he even says he doesn't remember writing it. So, I mean, I guess I won't hold it against him, but I kind of will. So there's that. So next up we have Cell, another one that is poorly reviewed. And I think this one is just considered to be quite dated. I mean, look at this flip phone here. Look at this flip phone. But I've heard some people have fun with it, so it could be good. I don't know. I also know there was a pretty poorly reviewed adaptation with Samuel L. Jackson and I think John Cusack that came out like in the 2010s. Which, you know, that's there to watch if I want to, but I don't know if I will. Next up is Just After Sunset. This is one of the short story collections I have yet to read. This one is one that doesn't get like a ton of praise. I don't think it's like necessarily poorly reviewed, but I think it's one of his more forgotten short story collections. It came out kind of in this weird lull of time where Stephen King wasn't in like his glory days of fame of like the 80s and things like that, but also not during his like renaissance or resurgence in like the 2010s and 2020s. So it's one that just doesn't get talked about a lot, but I am curious to see what I think about this one for myself. Next up we have, and I'm going to talk about two books here. We have Black House by Stephen King and Peter Straub, the second book in the Talisman series, book one being, of course, The Talisman. And the reason I said I'm going to talk about two is because it's rumored that Stephen King's next book that is coming out novel-wise is the third book in the Talisman series, which I wasn't crazy about The Talisman. I didn't hate it. But I didn't love it either, and I've heard very mixed things about Black House. I think this might be Jake from the Bookish Drummer's least favorite Stephen King book. I know he DNF'd it at some point and then had to force himself to finish it a few years back, but I gotta read it, especially because I've heard this book has quite somewhat significant Dark Tower ties, so I am curious about that, if nothing else. But I don't know why King is choosing to continue these series that people aren't crazy about, like the Talisman and the Holly books, what is he doing? Next up is another one that is less talked about. This one is actually a screenplay. It is Storm of the Century, which there's, of course, a film for because it's a screenplay. So this is another one that I don't think will take me particularly long, hopefully not longer than like watching a movie. So I may just knock this out in one evening. I really don't know anything about it other than I'm guessing there's some crazy storm that takes place, which makes sense with the title. But next up, we have Stephen King's longest short story collection. That is Nightmares and Dreamscapes. So from what I've heard of this one, I've just heard that it's very bloated, that there are some really good stories in here, but there are also a lot of duds. So I'm hoping to just like spend a month knocking this out and kind of make it my project for a month. I really don't know what to expect. Hopefully there's some bangers in here, but I know that there's just so many. Like, I can't even tell you how many short stories there are, but this book is like 900 pages or something like that. Is it 900? No, it's like 800, but still super, super long, especially for a short story collection. And it's not like a mix of other collections. It's literally its own thing. So that's kind of impressive, but also kind of intimidating. So next up, we have the only other short story collection. I have a novella collection to talk about here in a minute, but that's Everything's Eventual. I've read a couple stories from this, the ones that are Dark Tower related, but I have not read the rest of them. I've been meaning to read this one for ages. So once I'm done with Night Shift, this will probably be the next one that I go to because I think other than Night Shift, this is his most popular one. So I am excited to read it for that reason. And I enjoyed the stories that I've read from it so far. My last Bachman book, and I have this hardcover collection here, which is in such great shape, and I'm so excited that I have this. But the book that I have not read is Rage. I've read The Long Walk, Roadwork, and The Running Man from this. I just have not read Rage. It's, I think, Stephen King's only book that is out of print, and I am just so curious to see how I feel about it. I don't think I'm gonna love it. I think I'm probably gonna hate it, but I'm gonna read it. And it's not very long either, so I will give it a go for that reason. Next up is the only book by Stephen King that, as of right now, I have DNF'd, and that is Fairy Tale. So I was so excited about this. Like, I picked it up day one, so excited to read it, and I really enjoyed the first bit of this, but at about the 50% mark, this book takes a very significant shift in the story, and from that point on, I just did not care. So I dropped it at about the 60% mark, and I have yet to revisit it in the last 3 years since it came out, but I want to try to read it, I guess, so hopefully I can push through. Some people love this book. I just have not been one of them as of right now. We'll see what happens, though. Maybe if I just enter into it knowing that it's not going to be the best, I'll be okay with it. Next one is a book that I need to take the stickers off, but this is Lisey's Story. And this is one that Stephen King himself really loves. Like, I think he's been quoted as saying it's one of his favorite books that he's written. And it's a love story as far as I know. I really like the way this looks without the jacket. I think that is so nice. But I really know nothing about this book other than that it's like a love story and Stephen King himself loves it, but it's not super beloved by fans. I do know also, though, there was an adaptation recently, I think a miniseries with Julianne Moore as the main character, and I've heard it was pretty good. So I'll give it a go. I have to. Next up, we have one that most people hate, and that is Sleeping Beauties by Stephen and Owen King. Not excited about this one. I've heard that there's a good story in here, but it's just way too long, and it looks long. It's over 700 pages, and I've heard it's about like a pandemic where people just fall asleep and stop waking up, but they're like in a coma that just spreads. So very interesting concept, but I've just heard the execution isn't the best. So I hate that so many of these are so long too. But we're getting down to the wire here. Just a few more. Next up, we have The Institute. This is one that I've been excited about for a really long time, and this is one of the few that I have like pretty significantly high hopes for. It's not everybody's favorite by any means, but of Stephen King's more modern releases, this is one that is considered to be one of the better ones. So I am excited about that. I've heard that there's like a pretty significant like change up in the narrative where like you have the prologue that is one character and then that character doesn't show up again for like 60% of the book. So hopefully just like being aware of that going in will help me to enjoy it more. But I am excited to finally read The Institute very soon. It's supposed to be like kids with superpowers. People say if you like Stranger Things, read this. And I love Stranger Things. Let me know if you've been watching Stranger Things Volume 5 because I have been and it's so good. But next up is the only novella collection I have left, and that is For Past Midnight. Another one that I've heard kind of mixed things on, but I have heard of all of the novellas in this. I think, not all of them. The Langoliers I've heard of, Secret Window, Secret Garden I've heard of, and I don't know anything about The Library Policeman, but I think I've heard The Sundog is good too, so could be good? Could be good. We'll see. And now, those are all the ones that I have physical copies of. I only have two others, and those are Danse Macabre, I don't know if I said that right, but that is a work of nonfiction just about the horror genre, I believe, by Stephen King. So I'm very interested in that. I have heard it's not like super compelling, so I'll get the audiobook for it, knock it out pretty quick. And then the only other one by him that I just haven't found a physical copy in good shape of is Gerald's Game, which this one I've heard pretty good things about as well. So there is that. That's it. Those are the 16, 17 if you count Talisman 3, but that hasn't been actually announced yet. So the 16 books by Stephen King I have left to read. Should I read these in 2026 and just knock it out and then do like a ton of Stephen King videos next year, just talking about like my rankings and the best and the worst and all that jazz? Because I could do that now too, like with the 60-ish books that I've read, but I want to be a completionist. I want to actually finish all of his books. So I'm going to force myself to do it at some point, but should it be 2026? I don't know. If I had to say which ones I'm most excited for, I would say The Institute is one, not Sleeping Beauties. Maybe Lacey's Story, Everything's Eventual for sure, and maybe 4 Past Midnight. I don't know. Those are the ones I'm looking forward to. The rest, I'm gonna read because I have to try. But that's it for this video. Let me know if you enjoyed any of these books so that I can be encouraged to read them. And let me know if you think I should read these in 2026 or just kind of spread them out and read them whenever. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.